All right. So greetings, everybody. Michelle and I are right now, it's just us on the call, but we still wanted to record a little bit because I know that some of you, this is a hard time of day. So I know that some of you wanted to catch the replay. And so this is our first meeting for the book, Girl Stop Apologizing. And we have covered excuses 1 through 4. So what we're going to do tonight, this is pretty informal. And please realize that having a book club discussion is really more powerful when there's people on live. So the fact that it's just Michelle and I tonight, it'll give you a couple questions. I'm going to leave you with 3 questions to really think about and ponder. But if you can work really hard to get on these next few discussion calls, it'll be much better for everybody to get kind of like share their ideas and their opinions. So we hope to see you in live time if that's possible. Michelle, do you want to talk about what you want? You said that you had a couple comments. Do you want to do that piece first?
Okay, yeah, sure. So I was saying that I'm definitely reading through the book and I'm just finished Excuse 4, I'm Not Enough to Succeed. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say that today at my work meeting, I was talking with a man who's about my age and he has, children around my age. He's probably a little younger, but we were just talking about that feeling of being enough and, as educators. And I said, well, really, it's that way as parents. And he's like, it's like that way with everything. We're always asking ourselves, are we enough? And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to finish that chapter. So, it's everybody kind of has that feeling.
I love that he was a male that said that too. A lot of times it's always women like, oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. He is an educator, so he spends a lot of time with women, but I've also known him for probably more than 10 years. So we're just friends. So
is he at the same piece of life that you're in, age-wise?
I think he's just a little bit younger and he's in a different bit of the career field, but one that we're similar in, but he's in a job that I applied for. But I thank my lucky stars all the time that I didn't get that job because he is the perfect fit for it. And I would not have been like, that's what started our conversation. Every time I see him, I'm like, thank goodness I didn't get that job.
Michelle, let me ask you a question. As you have aged with time, have you felt like that feeling of, am I enough? Has it changed as you've went through different seasons of your life?
I think so, because as you become a parent and you're like pushing your shoulders around, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a big responsibility. Am I going to, be able to do this? I think that is a moment I always think about. And then as my kids start to climb in and out of the car themselves, that was like another one. So I do think that then it's in whether it's at work or it's at home in your family, any of those things, you think that
every season's going to have the same feeling, huh? It's just a different catalyst behind it.
Yep, like my kids are going to be in high school both next year. And I'm like, oh, here we go. That's new. So yeah, am I going to be enough to handle that for them and be there for them?
So it sounds like this feeling isn't going to go away, right? Like the feeling we all have. It's not your season that you're in. It's this is life. Welcome to it. And this is how most of us probably feel a lot of the time, right?
Yeah, I think so. And that that you are. Today, I told my same friend, I'm like, you know what, this morning when I got up, I told myself I was going to look at myself and say, I'm kind of a big deal. And he's like, that's a good one.
That's cute. And you feel more confident when you can say it that way, right?
Yeah. And you should just be like, I'm kind of a big deal.
Don't you think that feels better than I'm a hot mess? Like I see some of these people and they brand themselves, they're like, I'm a hot mess, I'm a mess. And I'm like, oh, don't say that. Like, it's, you embody what you say. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what else? What other thoughts were you really like, oh, I love this, or what things stuck? Anything?
I also now listen, I'll stick with the last chapter because that was the freshest in my mind, but that she said that it's not that you aren't accomplished, it's that you don't really give yourself enough credit for the things that you've done and that you are doing. And I think that is totally true because teachers are big at apologizing, and I think moms are in general, but teachers, for just things that you're like, oh, I did do good on that, or something that I did well, and pat yourself on the back once in a while. So
that's sort of what, one of the questions that I had, it kind of goes along with it. Let's see, where is it? Underlined it. Okay, so she talks about downplaying. This is only on page 6. I'm going to read the little passage, and I think it'll kind of go a little bit with what Michelle was just saying. She talks about downplaying and how, like, what it took to build her business. So she talks about, she was putting in 60 hours a week, okay, on her, like, side hustle. She said she loved every second of it, but I never mentioned any of it. Not publicly on social media, not privately at family events, not at business functions for my husband, or even business meetings. I downplayed all of it. I waved the truth away like I was batting at a fly. Oh, it's just this little thing that I do. And she said how she buried every accomplishment and didn't admit her biggest dreams, even to herself, because she was too worried about what others would think of her. And I thought, wow, like, how many of you as coaches, right? Like, you're doing this and you're so quick to be like, oh, this is just my side hustle. I'm just doing this little thing. Or you're embarrassed or you don't bring it up. Like, how many of you have been at events and, people are like, what are you doing on social media? Or they're like, they're wanting more info, but you're just, instead of like leaning into the opportunity to talk about it and show people like, I am a powerful businesswoman, you're like, oh yeah, just doing a little thing, just helping a few people. Meanwhile, you're paying like the groceries or you're paying the mortgage or whatever, and people don't have a clue. Do you guys ever find, I guess, again, I know no one's on live with us other than Michelle, but like, how many of you have done that where you've totally downplayed it? I know myself personally, I downplayed it in the beginning. And the people who I downplayed it the most to was my family. Isn't that funny? It wasn't my coworkers. I was like, yeah, I'm doing this, and I was proud of it. But when it came time to, like, if I went to Thanksgiving and somebody questioned me about Beachbody, I was like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this little thing. I was never truthful that I was hustling like I was to leave the career that they thought was so great. The thing that on the outside looked really good to other people that I was actually running from. So, Michelle, have you done it before? Like, have you downplayed it or not?
Maybe not by talking about it in the right way, or yeah, I'm sure that's the case, or it just might not come up. Usually what comes up for me is we talk about food, so then it definitely comes up. Mm-hmm. And then, I talk about how I like to make sure and explain to people that this works, like that sort of thing, but not necessarily from the business side.
Do you ever find yourself downplaying the amount of time you're actually putting into it?
I probably just don't talk about it.
You don't talk about it?
Or just to some people who ask me, I'll be like, yep, I'm working on it. And they can tell, they're like, all right.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how different your recruiting would be if that's what you led with, of how hard you are working. Because, there are those people out there who love hard work and who love a challenge like that.
Yep. I would have to think about how I would share that. Like, I'm not sure how I would write about that. I mean, I think it's a good idea. But then again, sometimes I'm like, already, I'm so busy. Now I just have to talk about how busy I am.
And you think about the people who are, I remember when I was teaching, it was like, I was so tired by the end of the day. So the thought of like, let me just set up until 11 o'clock and build this business, or 12 o'clock, like, I would have been like, no way. So I think like looking for different angles of finding, like, that's how much you like it, that you're willing
I could just talk about it from that angle.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, like, when you like something and you're willing to do it, even when you don't have to, that's a pretty big deal. So I think for some of us, we need to stop downplaying and really, like, own it, Okay, so that was one of the things I want to chat about. And I think that there are lots and lots of really successful people. I won't say women, I won't, because I think there are men who do it too, who downplay what it took to get you there. like we see all these people who have had success and we're like, that looks easy and they have it all together, but like they've been building for several years. Like I challenge you to find someone who's uber successful who wasn't actually grinding behind the scenes, or like the ones who are the overnight success. Like we sometimes will see new coaches, younger ones, to be honest with you, like the ones who are like 22, 21 or whatever. Like we've got a couple of those, and all of a sudden people are like, they came out of nowhere. Some of them did come out of nowhere, but the time that they put in over the last year is like 60, 80-hour weeks. Like they're not just getting lucky. Like luck has nothing to do with this at all. Okay, so there was one thing in the intro that I liked. I'm going to read the little quote to you, and then we can just chat for a second. She talked about how the world needs your spark. The world needs your energy. The world needs you to show up for life and take a hold of your potential. We need your ideas. We need your love and care. We need your passion. We need your business models, and we need to celebrate your success. We need to watch you rise back up after your failures, and we need to see your courage. We need to hear your what if, and we need you to stop apologizing for being who you are and become what you were meant to be. And it made me think of how some of you, whenever you're new as coaches, you want to apologize for posting on social media, and you want to apologize for talking about coaching. That's a fear that a lot of my new coaches have. They will put their dinner on social media. They will put their workouts on social media. But the minute I challenge them and say, okay, let's share the business opportunity, they run for the hills, or they assume by default that that post is going to annoy their neighbor or annoy their cousin who follows them or whatever. And so they allow that to make themselves play small, and they don't do it. And they feel guilty then. Or if they do, they're like, oh, I know I'm going to get unfollowed, or I know that so-and-so isn't going to like this post. And honestly, like, who cares, right? Like, who cares? You got to stop apologizing for sharing something that has changed your life. At least that's how I feel. Like, I don't feel bad about it, And I have, so I'm going to give you guys an example, and I don't know that it's the best example, but yesterday, so I'm in a weird situation as far as posting goes, because I'm in a hard spot where my brother's really dealing with a very serious case of cancer, and it's consuming my family. And so every time I post on social media, it's like in this moment, it's hard to be like, oh, Beachbody this or Beachbody that, because behind the scenes, we're really struggling. And that's something that I need to work on getting better with. But yesterday, 2 of my family members messaged me and they were like, can you make sure that you make a post about Mike giving an update? Because everybody's starting to follow me for the update. And I shared how I would be glad to do that, but I thought they should make their own, because my post, even though it was going to be an update about Mike, it was actually also going to be a coaching post. And it was. Yesterday was my 5-year, or the day before was my 5-year coaching anniversary, and I shared how I got to be with my brother, and I didn't feel bad about using that post to talk about coaching. Like, it, for one quick second, I was like, oh, maybe my mom won't like that post, right? Like, that I'm talking about using that and comparing this together. But then I realized, like, I can't play small, right? Like, I can't hold back on that, because I am super grateful for this. I would still be in a classroom teaching if it weren't for coaching. I wouldn't have been able to sit with my brother when he got the news. And so I'm not going to apologize for it. And I'm not going to make a post that, is just a generic update. Like, sometimes you just have to, I just owned it. And so my mom didn't share my post. She took an excerpt of my post and she took my picture, and she didn't say anything otherwise. So sometimes I think we just have to realize that it's not the best choice to play small, and it doesn't matter what someone thinks of your posts. Michelle, were you struggling with this as a newer coach, do you feel like, or has it always been easy, or do you still find yourself struggling with apologizing for your content?
I think that has gotten a lot better over time. And I moved a lot of my social media to my business account. Mm-hmm. So, and then people can choose to follow me, but sometimes I still post on my personal. And I see people that do unique or do other things, and I see their posts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is also part of what you have on Facebook. I mean, people share their opportunities, and that is where a lot of connections are made, and that is what social media is. So
mm-hmm. We're kind of like becoming more desensitized to it, would you say? Like,
I mean, I think about how I write them because I think about the ones I see that I scroll right by.
Mm-hmm.
And then how I can make mine maybe different or more relatable or make someone want to read it all the way through type thing.
Yeah, and really create a brand around it and a story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Try. Yeah.
It's changed a lot. I mean, Michelle, you've been around for a long time with me, like in this business. So we've seen that in the beginning, we were some of the only ones selling on Facebook or selling on social media. And there were a lot of people in 3, 4, 5 years ago who weren't trained on how to do this. We were like the blind leading the blind, and we weren't very good at it. And it's put a taste in a lot of people's mouths. And so that's why we have to learn. You have to learn how to be good at sharing your business on social media in a way that doesn't feel like you're just selling all the time. So it takes practice. For sure.
Yeah, definitely it takes practice. And I think reading this type of material helps you get a different perspective on it than maybe you just have in your own mind. Absolutely. A more, objective perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Rachel Hollis is really, especially even from the book Girl Wash Your Face, she is really a fan of getting up early. And her mornings, like, they belong to her, and they are special, and they are what she claims makes her successful. And if you study some of the top personal development people, they all tell you the same thing. It's all about that miracle morning. It's all about that protected time. And they give you their tips, and they tell you exactly what to do. Yet so many of us don't do it. We don't get up an hour early. We don't, move the phone from our bedroom. Instead, we leave it under our pillow. We don't, do gratitude, or we don't exercise, or there's so many things that we just don't do. But we continually say over and over and over again, I want to be successful. I want this to work, or whatever. But we don't take the action. And she really, really, really hits the nail on the head when she talks about, in excuse number 2, she talks about not being a goal-oriented person. She talks about the difference between dreams versus action, and basically what you have to do to make it happen. And I really love the part where she says, it's the bottom of page 17, she says, hope is not a strategy. And that is something you hear her say all the time. Hope is not a strategy. And it's so true. She talks about how simply hoping for your life to get better, that will not make your life get better. She talks about how you have to be intentional, and you have to decide right now that you can be whoever you want to be, and that you're going to go and put the work in. And that's the difference, right? So many of you are like, I want this, I want to be debt free. I want this great marriage. I want to be healthy. I want. But at the end of the day, when the alarm clock goes off, you're the one who's also hitting snooze. And you're the one who's not doing your power hour, or you're not doing the simple things that you know are going to make you successful. So hoping that you get lucky and that you're the next, you're the next top coach because your post goes viral on Instagram, that's not a strategy. It's not going to retire you from your job. Hard work is, being intentional is, but not hoping. And so I love the idea of, she kind of suggested that you should document how are you spending your 24 hours, right? Like, break it down. How much did you work today? How much did you spend scrolling social media? How much time did you watch Netflix? How much time did you commit to doing the thing you wanted to do? And was the excuse of, I don't have enough time, really truly a valid excuse? Or was it just you wasting time? So I thought it was a good gut check. In fact, I thought it would be fun for myself even to just do it, right? Like, for a couple of days, write down my whole day. How many minutes did I spend doing all the things? And I know that there are times where I could be doing more. And even though we always feel like we're busy, we're not always productive. There's a big difference between the two. Michelle, do you have a miracle morning right now?
I would not say that I have a miracle morning. I notice what I do is if I do hit snooze, what I do is I stay awake and I use that time before I get out of bed
Yeah.
for like the extra breathing, a little bit of visualization. Like I do those things,
Yes.
and then I get up and I get on with it. Like
Yeah.
versus getting
Are you
up.
good about protected time without your phone, or is that a struggle?
I am not good at that now.
No, I don't think there's many coaches who are.
I think it is hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to go back to plugging it in the bathroom.
Yeah. I felt better when I didn't have it in my room. Like when we did Mel Robbins, I felt better. It was a better start to the day.
Well, it'll work for me because I have my phone chargers not plugged in by my bed, so I'll be able to do it.
Yeah. So I guess I just would say that for those of you who don't have one, maybe you listen to this and you're listening to us, and when I ask, what does your morning routine look like? And you're like, oh, my morning routine is chaos. I know that for myself, when I fall in the trenches, my morning looks like this. I wake up to Grace crying on the monitor, and that's how or Carter gets me up, and I'm like, this is not a good start to the day, because it's like you're fighting fires from the start. So I really want you to be intentional about saying, where can I find a time for myself that I know that I can protect and that I have control over? Because I don't have control over 8 to 9 a.m. It's chaos here. And I'm sure in some of your homes that after that morning rush, it's chaos. I have no control at that time, right? I just have to get through that. So I can't do PD. I can't journal then. I can't work out then, but I can at 5 a.m. and no one's going to bother me, right? So you got to find that time and make the sacrifices. Anything else you want to share, Michelle?
I don't think so. I mean, I do have the morning routine. I have done the Miracle Morning, and I did all that, commitment with the food, with time, nutrition. So I know I can do those things. So I just feel like I've adapted into a routine. There are things that could be better about it. So
yeah,
it's a goal to work on that.
I think it's a really good goal for all women, regardless of where they are, what season of life, what business. Having that routine, it's going to set you apart from so many people, for sure.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. I was never one to sleep in, so it works out.
Yeah, it's good. You feel better when you have control at the start of the day.
Definitely.
Sure. Okay, so we will plan to meet back again next Thursday. I should still be fine to lead next Thursday. I'm not having the baby, I don't think, until next Friday. So I will lead next Thursday, and then somebody will probably do the next week, but maybe not. It might be me and the baby. But anyways, I really hope to see more of you on in live time so we can have a rich discussion around this. So hope you're enjoying the book so far. Michelle, thanks for joining me live, and I will talk to you guys soon. See you all. Bye.